Welcome back to Fox Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain an episode from the series 13 Terrors, released in the year 2014. The movie begins with a middle-aged woman named Apasiri Nitapon sitting by herself in her living room. She's recalling the argument she had with her son, Nai, some moments ago. She is so lost in her thoughts that she can't even hear the ringing of the telephone in the room. A flashback reveals that Apasiri and Nai were arguing over his future. Nai wants to major in communications arts, but Apasiri, who is a pharmacist, wants him to follow in her footsteps and pursue the same career. Nai laments that she never listens to him, and Apasiri retorts that he can't do anything in life with his arts degree, bringing up the high unemployment rate in the country. She says that Nai shouldn't waste his potential on an arts degree. However, when Nai refuses to listen, she brings up the work and effort she put in to raise him by herself. It turns out Nai's father passed away when he was young. However, Nai puts his foot down, saying he won't study pharmacy. Moreover, he points out that Apasiri herself isn't happy with her career, yet she is forcing him to make the same mistakes as her. Nai calls her clingy and says that he feels smothered by her hovering around him all the time. He says that he's tired of living with her, and he thinks if it were just him and his late dad, he would have been happier. After delivering the low blow, Nai storms out of the house. The movie then cuts back to the present, and Apasiri finally picks up the telephone. It's Nai on the other end, and Apasiri asks him why he turned his phone off and how worried she was for him. However, Nai tells her that she probably won't ever see him again. It is revealed that he is standing on the edge of a building, seemingly to end his life. Puzzled, Apasiri asks what he is talking about and tells him to return home. She further tells him that he can be mad at her, but he must come home so they can talk everything out. However, Nai tells her to take good care of herself. It finally begins to dawn on her that he is about to do something stupid. She breaks into tears and tells him that she will let him do everything he wants to, pleading with him to return home. However, Nai tells her that he will return home later before hanging up the call. It is then revealed that Nai is at his friend Du's dorm room with his other friends, and he was only scaring his mother. Nai and others then dial random phone numbers and prank people using a landline, which makes sure their identity doesn't show on the caller ID. When it's Nai's turn to make a prank call, an old woman answers the phone. She asks if she is talking to her grandson Benz and inquires when he is coming back home. Nai plays along and tells her that he won't return home. The old woman suddenly goes silent, and one of the boys jokes that maybe she got a heart attack. Nai then gets a call from his mother, but he doesn't pick up. Nai's friends advise him to call her back, saying she must be worried. But Nai feels that she deserves to be tortured like this. Nai then goes on a rant against his mother, and even his friends feel that he's going overboard now. However, Nai decides to spend the night at his friend Du's home. Later that night, Nai gets a call from his mom on Du's landline. Apasiri asks him if he's all right, but Nai is surprised that she has Du's landline number. To his astonishment, Apasiri claims that Nai called her from this number earlier. She asks him to come back home, claiming that he was crying to her on the phone. Nai denies calling her as he just woke up, but Apasiri insists that she talked to him moments ago. Puzzled, Nai hangs up the call and accuses Du of calling his mother. However, Du denies doing any such thing. The next day, Du reveals that he's going back home for the weekend, much to Nai's dismay. Du explains that he didn't have the heart to tell Nai earlier because he wanted to spend the night, and agrees to leave Nai the key if he wishes to stay longer. Meanwhile, Nai is still hung up on how his mother got Du's landline number. Du speculates that Nai must have called her in his sleep and reminds him to study for his upcoming exam before leaving. After he leaves, Nai gets another call, but when he answers it, the call disconnects. This happens several times. Fed up, Nai pulls out the telephone's cord and he falls asleep studying for his test. Later that day, he wakes up to his mother's call on his cell phone. He tells her to stop calling her, but she reveals that he just called her crying. Nye doesn't know anything about it, and Apasiri insists that he called her from the same landline. When Nye proceeds to claim that he was asleep, he notices that someone plugged the cord into the telephone again. Frustrated, he yells at his mom, and suddenly the call disconnects. Nye then records himself sleeping and checks it the next day. However, the video doesn't record anything unusual. The phone rings again, and this time only his voice echoes from the other end. Nye then notices that the telephone cord is not even plugged into the wall, and someone suddenly laughs from the other end. Startled, Nye backs off and calls his friends over. The group then try to find the number of the old woman who Nye pranked, as he believes that the strange calls have something to do with that woman. However, Nye and the others fail to find it and decide to return home. At home, Nye gets a call from his mother, who asks him to come over to the roof. However, he doesn't find her there. Instead, the door slams shut behind him and he gets locked out on the roof. Left with no choice, he decides to jump from the roof to the balcony below, and as he proceeds to do it, Nye's mother opens the door, catching him climbing over the railing. Nye gets off and yells at her for locking him outside, but she claims that she just got home and she didn't call him. Nye rushes downstairs to show her his call log, but to his astonishment, it has no records of her calling him. Fed up, she tells him to put a stop to his games and calls him out for trying to jump off the roof. Nye is forced to confess that he doesn't want to end his life and he was playing a trick on her. Furious, Apasiri slaps him. She breaks into tears, recalling how she couldn't sleep for the last 48 hours. Ashamed, Nye goes to his room and studies for his exam with his head down. Later, Nye again goes through haunting experiences in his room. The closet door opens by itself, and the table fan also turns on automatically. He also gets a call from his mother, but no one speaks on the other end of the line. Scared, Nye runs downstairs to his mother's room and frantically bangs on her door. Just as he asks her if he can sleep in her room, her telephone rings. Per usual, no one speaks on the other end, and Apasiri's voice echoes from the other end. Scared, Nye snatches the phone from his mother and hangs it up. Nye and his mother get to talking, and he asks her what he would have done if he really ended his life. She reminds him that everything she has done, she did it for his own good. Suddenly, someone flushes the toilet. Apasiri quickly turns around and notices that Nye wasn't even on the bed with her all this time. Nye emerges from the washroom and the two see that the voice is coming from the telephone. Nye nervously picks up the phone and asks what they want from him. The voice asks Nye to guess and hangs up the call. The next day, Nye's mother decides to accompany him to his school for his exams, much to Nye's dismay. He tells her that they should just switch off their phone like they agreed. He doesn't want to get teased by his friends for having his mother accompany him at school at his age. However, Nye's mother refuses to listen. She tells him that she will never stop him from doing anything, but today she will go to school with him no matter what. At school, Nye and his mother turn off their phones. Afterwards, Nye goes off to give his exam while his mother waits for him in the parking lot. Halfway through the exam, Nye's phone starts to go off. Fearing backlash from his invigilator, Nye hesitates from owning the fact that it is his phone, and Du decides to take the fall for his friend. During the break, Du gets on Nye's case for almost getting him in trouble. He reveals that Nye's mother left him 10 missed calls. Worried, Nye rushes to the parking lot but finds his mother's car missing. When he asks the security about her, they reveal that she left the lot some minutes ago. Left with no choice, Nye turns on his phone and calls his mother. However, Nye's mother is unreachable, so he returns upstairs. Just as he leaves, Nye's mother arrives. The security guard tells her that Nye was looking for him, and she immediately calls him. Nye sees her call before going into the exam hall, but he decides not to answer the phone. In the parking lot, Nye's mother gets a call from him. Suspicious, she checks his exam timetable and deduces that Nye must be giving his exam. After becoming sure that it is not Nye calling her, Apasiri declines the call. However, the security guard receives a call from someone claiming to be Nye, asking to speak with her. Meanwhile, Nye grows worried for his mother and quickly finishes his exam. He then rushes to the parking lot where he sees his mother's car but finds her missing. He quickly turns on his cell phone and tries to call her but finds her out of reach. Nye overhears the commotion outside and rushes to inspect. It turns out someone has met with an accident. As he nervously walks up to the crowd, Nye's mother calls him from the other side of the road. It turns out that she went over to a pharmacy to buy headache medication. Seeing his mother fine, Nye breathes a sigh of relief, but as she crosses the road, she asks him how his headache is now. But a puzzled Nye wonders what headache she's referring to, and it suddenly dawns on Apasiri that Nye didn't call her. Lo and behold, a fast-moving vehicle runs her over, and Nye rushes her to the hospital. There, he gets another call from someone claiming to be his mother, who tells him to take good care of himself because she won't be seeing him anymore. Nye breaks down. He apologizes and pleads with the caller to stop, but the caller reminds him that it's he who didn't want to live with his mother anymore. Nye admits that he is scum, but he questions the caller why they took it out on his mother and not him. The caller tells him to watch his mouth next time before hanging up. Nye smashes his phone and starts screaming. The doctor and nurse rush to his side and tell him that his mother is out of danger, calming him down. 2 days pass by and Nye's mother finally regains consciousness. When she learns that Nye skipped his exams to be by her side, she questions his decision. Nye reminds her that she promised not to interfere in his decisions. He tells her that he wouldn't have been able to concentrate even if he appeared for his exams. Nye then gets a call from Du, who reveals that he got his telephone bill and sends Nye the old woman's number. Nye calls the number and Benz picks up the phone. Nye apologizes to him for the stupid prank, leaving Benz confused. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.